What are your plans for the future right now?
Hopefully pay my bills.
I'm here personally because I believe in people, and I'm very concerned about the number of jobs that are being let go.
The answer isn't go to management and ask for help. It's not go to HR and ask for help. You got to help yourselves.
This is not the end of the industry. We are the ones who make the games, and we are the ones who are going to continue to make the games as long as we want to.
All of these companies, their leaders, they take so much money. Satya, Asha, how much are you getting paid? And how much they've spent on AI. Worse, just hold Microsoft accountable for being legit pieces of
Or they just think that downsizing is the right option. I don't think it's the right option.
The future isn't clear, but if we don't organize, if we don't do things like this, then we know what the answer is. But when we fight together like this, there's a chance that we can get a different outcome.
These workers are incredible people. They created some of the best games in the world. We owe them more.
Hello. Usually I put on a costume before I say things for advertisements and things, but I just want to be very real. What these companies have announced today over the course of the last week and in their ongoing operations is an absolutely devastating blow to the industry. And there are a couple of key things, key factors that I think are contributing, or at least the things that are on my mind the most. So obviously the first thing is earlier this week we saw announcements pertaining to closures and downsizing across Xbox, and my history, we're coming up on about a year since I myself was laid off at Xbox. I had been at Bethesda for about 10 years. In their last downsizing, I was affected. After that, I started my own business because I was having trouble finding another job within the industry, because when you lose a job in an industry that has massive amounts of layoffs, it's very hard to find another job, because the nature of that is there are less jobs to find. In the coming weeks, I've posted a couple of times about how I feel about this. It's always the people at the top making these decisions that are affecting the laborers that don't make these poor decisions that cause this financial crisis for these large companies. Just remember, these are people with families. These are people that have people that care about them. These are human beings. At the end of the day, it's important to remember every name in the credits of a game you like or dislike is another human being, and they deserve respect. However, the people at the top are the people to blame for this. Don't forget that. So I'm here at a CWA protest out front of Zenimax Media in Rockville, Maryland. They are protesting the recent mass layoffs that Microsoft and Xbox have decided to implement. I'm here talking to folks, doing a couple interviews, seeing what's going on. As you can see, there is a group of people here behind me. There are traditional news outlets as well, hanging out and talking to folks, but I figured I should be here as well. So I'm going to talk to some people that I might know from the past, some people that I might not know, and we'll gain some perspective here. This will be interesting.
My name's Wayne Dayberry. I worked at 7 years in the QA department at Zenimax, and I spearheaded the organizing movement that we eventually were successful with in 2021.
How long did it take, rather, for the department to organize after initial discussions?
We spent a period of about a year and a half to 2 years where we didn't exactly have a complete plan put together, so we were kind of winging it. But once we got with the CWA, it took us about a year and a half, 2 years to go from kind of start to finish.
Could you give any advice on if there are other AAA employees watching this within a department or an organization that they feel like should unionize or has the capability to unionize? How would you suggest starting something like that?
Having conversations with your peers, figuring out what it is that the issues everybody has within the department or within your workspace, sharing your own with them, hearing each other's fears, then having conversations about well, how could we possibly do this? And those conversations kind of naturally lead towards down an organizing path. The answer isn't go to management and ask for help. It's not go to HR and ask for help. You got to help yourselves. And you do that with unity and love and understanding each other, standing with each other.
Anyone that doesn't know, Wayne and I are former co-workers as well, and we've both kind of been impacted by similar things here. Thanks, man. I think that's really important. Is there anything else in general you'd like to say? Just open floor for you.
In this industry, it is the time to organize. You can look around in the news and everything that's happening, so now's the time to fight for your own power. Now's the time to fight for your own protection and safety and for yourself and for your peers.
Hi, my name is Chase. I was a QA tester here at Bethesda. I worked on many games like Fallout 76, Starfield, Indiana Jones.
How long were you with the company?
Here for almost 7 years.
How do you think the union has benefited your employment or your former employment here? And what are you hoping for?
Union protections and stuff. Other things were they did give us a pay raise starting last year. We also got a bunch of other things signed into documentation, and I believe that it's just good to have collective bargaining because then it's not just against one person, it's against all of us.
What is a piece of advice that you would give for other developers that are maybe trying to unionize right now?
Definitely do it sooner than later. You never know with this industry right now if funding get pulled or they just think that downsizing is the right option. I don't think it's the right option. Even if layoffs do happen, you can get better severance or other kind of extensions on perks while you're looking for a new job. I know the job market's crazy right now, and anything you can get is all the world to help.
As somebody that was recently impacted by these layoffs and as a developer and there's other people facing this same thing right now, what are your plans for the next couple of months to try to rally, figure things out?
If you are looking to transition jobs or if you just got forced out of the job or whatever, I do highly recommend using your time to get retooled or re-upped on your education and stuff. Stay competitive, that's the best thing I can say.
As you can see over here, there's another small contingent of protesters, presumably from Bethesda Game Studios, that are now joining this larger group here from Zenimax Software.
Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. One union makes us strong.
My name is Autumn Mitchell. I was a senior quality assurance tester level 2, and I was at Zenimax for about 5 years, a little under.
Can you kind of tell me about your role within the union that represents that department?
I originally was a part of an organizing committee, which is just a group of workers that are coming together who say, you know what, I think we want to form a union. Then we certified our union, and then I ran for what's called bargaining committee, which is basically just in our case, it was the QA negotiating team for our first contract. My coworkers did elect me into that position alongside a couple other my coworkers. Yeah, so I was part of the negotiations, and I was also a steward.
Gotcha. What kind of direct benefits can you apply from the CWA to the department here? What has been an aspect of helping this department that you think CWA has really delivered on so far?
Sure. I think it's an important distinction, right? I am CWA. We are CWA.
Sure.
We're members of CWA. So it's really us having a sense of community is really probably the most crucial element. And then also just coming together as working people, like an organism, like a single organism, has taken us to a place where we are now oh wait, we do have power in the workplace as long as we're working together. And then in terms of tangible benefits, we have a contract. We have a collective bargaining agreement that has stipulations over AI protections, stipulations over hey, you can't just fire people at will, there has to be a good reason for it or any reason at all for it. And then there's also if you get laid off, you have guaranteed benefits.
Right.
We can't change that. We can't mess with that.
What kind of advice would you give to other folks that are still within the AAA industry that might want to try to unionize but maybe feel that it's an insurmountable effort?
It's going to feel that way sometimes. Even after being laid off, it feels that way a little bit now. But the reality is if we continue to build power, we continue to push, we continue to try, 100+ years, hundreds of years of organized labor history has shown us that if we come together, if we fight, we can win. We can win the 8-hour workday. We can win weekends. We can win paternity leave and maternity leave. We can win a lot more too. It's because of things like working people coming together and organizing together that things like the WARN Act exist, right? Think big, talk to your coworkers, and reach out to the Communication Workers of America and talk to an organizer.
This is a different perspective from you, I think, because you're actively working closer with the union. What are the plans for the union over the next couple of months?
I think that we're probably going to do a bunch of interviewing with people who have been impacted and people who haven't been, collecting data, reviewing that data, and going into bargaining with Microsoft. We're going to go into bargaining with Microsoft and these different departments and studios and talk about what happened here and talk about what went correctly and well and what didn't, and what it is that we can actually bargain for in terms of layoff, working conditions, or negotiating severance. And then for the people who were not impacted, who remain in these studios, can they continue on as they are with the cuts that have been made to their teams? It can be done. You just need to talk to your coworkers. This is not the end of the industry. We are the ones who make the games, and we are the ones who are going to continue to make the games as long as we want to.
My name is Ash. I was hired on in, I think, November 2021, and I was laid off around this time last year, so I was there a little over 4 years.
Yeah. What did you do?
I was a QA tester.
What have you been doing since?
Trying to work on my skills, polishing my resume, and just keeping in touch with old coworkers, trying to offer support where I can, and just trying to make ends meet. Yeah. But the job market is absolutely atrocious right now, both in and out of the games industry.
How would you say that CWA has affected not only your tenure at Bethesda, but your getting laid off, that whole process? How can you say CWA has affected you there?
On the social side, at least, my team originally was on Redfall, was completely remote, and organizing and doing union work brought me closer to people on my team and also people all across Zenimax, because otherwise there wouldn't have been much reason to interact with each other. Right. So one, it brought me a lot of new friends, let me get to know my coworkers in a much more intimate capacity. Also, I know for a fact that it saved my job. When Redfall was canceled, from what I had heard, the initial plan was to just lay off everybody associated with it, but because we were in bargaining, I did ultimately still get laid off, but I got to keep my job for another 2 years.
What's next? Are you continuing to look for work? Are you continuing to want to stay within the games industry?
Ideally still within the games industry, but Christmas isn't getting any cheaper, so I gotta find a job where I can. Yeah. The future isn't clear, but if we don't organize, if we don't do things like this, then we know what the answer is. But when we fight together like this, there's a chance that we can get a different outcome.
My name is Jacob Bullock. I was here for 11 years with my contract, so at least 10 years officially. It's a fun contract period there, which is a whole fun...
It's another whole thing in the games industry, yeah.
Terrified of not being able to stay in, working so hard that you want to be there, but I've moved up from QA to release management, and seemed it's like such a small team, and we were working our asses off, and still just replaceable. Everyone's replaceable. It pisses me off. All these companies, their leaders, they take so much money. Satya, Asha, how much are you getting paid? And how much they've spent on AI, and how much they care about AI more than their workers. Day after layoffs, Asha gets appointed as some productivity person in the government.
Yeah, I saw that. I thought it was absolutely insane. It just shows the cruel irony of all of this. Were you a unionized worker?
I was. We were in negotiations still, which is what makes these layoffs even more illegal.
Allegedly.
They should have spoken to the union about the layoffs. That's what they're arguing against. There's some legal intricacies there that I'm not sure of, but they didn't talk to the union about it, I don't believe, period, and they should have. Sure. Regardless of how they argue it, they haven't shown their work. They claim that all this money is getting wasted on middle management, but then, as I said, CEO, salaries, AI.
14 layers of management is an absolutely ridiculous thing to say, because even in a standard department, in the way that you've structured a large company like this, you have 4 layers of management for any department that's producing labor for you, just as it is. So then when you acquire stuff like this, you're acquiring those layers of management. You need to be able to steward those layers of management and combine them with your own to make these acquisitions successful, and honestly, not breaking the fucking law.
They also said that they were getting rid of middle management and whatever.
That's exactly what they said the year before. They said layers of management. They already cut layers. How are there still 14,
And when you say that, why are there also so many of QA getting gutted? That it is a fraction of what it used to be. I was talking to the sound team for BGS. They cut the composer and several sound designers, and now they just have sound designers, no composer. So where's the middle management going in that scenario?
Well, they would just have to manage an outsourced composer that you would then, Anyway, but yeah, what are your plans? Like, what's next?
That's a good question, Joe. Still figuring that one out, but I think there's a lot that can be done and should be done in the industry. Whether or not I'm a part of it, who knows what the future brings, but I'm here to fight. I'm here to make things better, whatever way I can.
I'm an administrative director for the Communication Workers of America in District 213, which supports and represents the members here in Maryland as well as 5 other states in our district. I'm currently also the chair of the bargaining committee for the effects bargaining that's going to be happening for the layoffs.
How long have you been working with CWA?
I have been with them since 2013, but prior to that, I was a CWA member for like 31 years with my prior employer.
Cool. Yeah, I've seen, obviously I'm aware, being a former worker as well. CWA, can you kind of tell me the origin there and how it's come up and kind of filled this need of the video game union?
The historical beginnings is the Telephone Federation workers that organized, and so there was a lot of telecommunications that we had primarily as the employers we represented. And then it just really diverged into a lot of different employer units, whether it's the airlines, whether it is newspaper guild. Now the video game workers is really kind of our push for code workers, because we recognize that in tech, there's a lot of workers that have gone through this cycle of being laid off, being disrespected, not getting wages.
Skilled labor that's not treated with
like
respect. Yeah, really like people really most of the time. But yeah,
exactly.
What are you most proud of with how the CWA has helped to assist this department specifically?
We negotiated a first contract for the Zenimax QA group over a year ago. They ratified on June 19th, and so that was after 2 years of bargaining that they really hung in there strong. You know what I mean? Again, you can feel the energy today from the workers, so we're really proud to support them and also represent them, and mainly it's trying to get first contracts now for the rest of these studios.
Right.
My name is Monique Ashton. I am the mayor of Rockville.
What are you doing here today?
I'm here personally because I believe in people, and I'm very concerned about the number of jobs that are being let go. Here we're at the Zenimax Microsoft campus. I had learned that there's about 300 jobs that are going to be lost, and there's not a lot of explanation as to why those jobs are being lost. As you know, that after the federal government had so many layoffs, jobs are a big issue.
Yeah, especially in this area.
Yeah, people need jobs, so we want to fight and protect every job in this area. We want to bring new jobs, but we also have to protect the jobs that we have.
What kind of actions as the mayor do you foresee taking to preserve these jobs, or possibly do what the union is doing and negotiate some better outcomes for these folks?
Today I'm here personally, and I'm going to be talking to my colleagues and to other electeds to just make them aware about what's going on. I think a lot of people weren't aware of what's the plight of the people. And so part of me being here is to listen, to better understand what is their reality, how are they being treated, and see if we can go and create more awareness and help to fight to keep these jobs. That's the bottom line. We want to keep these jobs. These workers are incredible people. They created some of the best games in the world. We owe them more. They are people who need to be able to send their kids to school, to pay their bills, to have health insurance. This is a big deal. And I'm also here because I want to understand what's going on in the industry. Is this a trend?
This is pretty commonplace. In fact, it's worse now because it's kind of ballooned as a big business, I would say. There's more people working in games than ever, and so when these large companies decide to trim folks, or there's not a lot of thought put to some of the people that they're getting rid of, because there's a disconnect between the people making that decision and the laborers that are making them the money ultimately. In the past, there wasn't even representation like this either. So it is starting to come a long way, but the volume of job loss and institutional knowledge, for that matter. I read a statistic a while back that says the average time in the games industry is about 4 years. I myself was at this company for almost a decade before I was laid off. I know people that have been here for 20 plus years that have been impacted by this. People that figured they'd retire here because before the acquisition, before the consolidation under Microsoft and Xbox, we didn't have layoffs. It just wasn't a thing that happened. Regardless of if something wasn't financially viable, they worked with the people and the laborers to make it financially viable instead of cutting everybody from the end there. So I really appreciate seeing someone with your status out here to show support. And I hope that we can forge legislation of some kind from this to protect workers like there are in other countries, specifically like France. They protect their workers there, it seems.
I am here to fight with the workers. I'm here to learn and to listen. It's not just today. We're going to continue beyond today to better see how can we protect workers in this community. And I want everyone to know this is not just one industry or one company. This has an impact on so many of us in the entire community. When a job is lost, that means someone can't pay their bills. It means that they can't go to a restaurant. They don't have disposable income. Something may happen because they don't have funding to support their children. And so this really is a community-wide issue. And I also want the players to know what's going on, right? Players enjoy the games. We need players to see what's going on in the industry and to say we want to support the workers who've given us the best products in the world. Thank you to the workers. Keep fighting, keep creating. We appreciate you.
My name's Marius. I started here in June of 2021 and I was laid off last Monday.
What did you do here?
I was a Senior 2 QA tester.
Can you tell me some of the games that you worked on?
The time I was here, I worked on Starfield, Doom the Dark Ages, Hi-Fi Rush, Ghostwire Tokyo, pretty much any game that we've made in the past 5 years.
As most people in QA, as former QA myself, you touch pretty much everything, right?
Yeah.
Credited or not, what do you hope to get out of the negotiations going on here with CWA?
For me, ideally, it would be to overturn the layoffs that I personally believe are illegal and to give people their jobs back. Worse, just hold Microsoft accountable for being legit pieces of shit. We have a ton of outsourced work in QA. We had an all-hands meeting where they showed us the amount of outsourced testers, which is now 6 times the size of the department after these layoffs.
So that outsourcing of labor to you is like a major infringement.
According to our CBA, that we can't lose jobs to outsourced labor or AI without bargaining over it, and they just keep throwing gas on a fire that's already burning. So we have one grievance with them about outsourcing from the last round of layoffs, and we're going to file another one, and we'll keep sticking it to them the best we can.
What are your plans for the future right now?
Hopefully pay my bills. Currently, I am looking for jobs in other video game industry jobs, but now that I'm currently fighting over those spaces with the 200 people that I was just co-workers with, it doesn't feel very great, as opposed to also the other 45,000 workers that have lost their jobs.
Yeah, absolutely. Where do you see the industry going in the next 5 years?
If it continues at this rate, I believe AAA games will be very dead. Indie right now is where all the passion is. When I started here, there was passion, and it's all been stripped away year after year. If you can be at a place where people love what they're doing, that's where the good games are going to come from, not when they're on a time crunch constantly and being told to just turn out slop as fast as they possibly can. If this is where you want to be for your career, don't give up, fight for your passion, give a shit about your coworkers, and stick together.
That's all I have to say really about that. The second thing is the announcement of Sony doing away with physical editions for their games. I think this is a massive anti-consumer move that will inevitably lose them money. They will lose people that can't access games in other ways or that have no interest in. I myself am a big fan of specifically buying physical copies of games for Sony consoles as well as Nintendo consoles, because there is aspects of that that make it worth it. I think that it is a massive blunder, and beyond that, there's so many implications with consumer rights. They can take away what you spent money on. I personally think that if you buy something, you should own that thing. That thing should belong to you, and if you want to give it to somebody else to try it, to have it, you should be able to. Obviously, that makes things harder to make money for some of these large companies that ultimately at the core is mismanagement of their own resources and how they allocate them. I've seen it firsthand. It's honestly disgusting, the amount of money that I've seen wasted on poor efforts to market or to sell a game in ways that could be better used elsewhere. But what this is really about is ownership of any media that we purchase, anything that is paid for. And I've also said recently, all No Quarter games going forward will have physical releases. We're going to put them onto CDs, DVDs, Blu-rays, whatever it takes to get them onto a physical version for people to have and for people to own forever, as long as they want to. I think it's really important, because without ownership of media, you can't progress. People have to own the things that they buy. There has to be a trust between a consumer, the product, and the artists and the people making that product, and they're taking that away from you.